AITA for refusing to pay my mom's rent after she kicked me out at 17, and now wants me to give back. 29F. Never thought I'd be posting here, but my family has been blowing up my phone for 3 days straight, calling me selfish, ungrateful, and a terrible daughter. I'm starting to question whether I'm actually in the wrong here, so I need outside perspective. Some background. I grew up with just my mom. Let's call her Linda, 52F. My dad passed away when I was 4 from a heart condition, leaving my mom with a modest life insurance payout and a small house that was fully paid off. Growing up, money was always tight but manageable. Mom worked as a medical receptionist, and we lived a simple but stable life in our 3-bedroom house in a quiet suburb outside of Portland, Oregon. Our relationship was complicated. Mom was never what you'd call warm or nurturing. She provided the basics: food, shelter, clothes, but there was always this emotional distance between us. I learned early on not to expect praise or affection. When I brought home stray A's, she'd say, "That's what you're supposed to do." When I made the varsity soccer team as a sophomore, she didn't come to a single game because she had better things to do than watch teenagers kick a ball around. Still, I thought we had an understanding. I thought that despite her coldness, there was some baseline level of care. I was wrong. The summer before my senior year of high school, I had just turned 17 3 months prior. Everything changed. Mom started dating this guy named Derek. He was 48, recently divorced, and worked in sales for some tech company. He started coming around the house more and more, always with expensive gifts for my mom, jewelry, fancy dinners, weekend trips. I noticed Mom was happier than I'd seen her in years, which I was genuinely glad about, even though Derek barely acknowledged my existence beyond awkward nods. Then, on a Friday evening in late July, Mom sat me down at the kitchen table with this serious expression. Derek wasn't there, and I remember thinking maybe she was going to tell me they were getting married or something. Instead, she said, "Sweetheart, I need to talk to you about your living situation." I was confused. My living situation? What do you mean? She sighed, like I was being deliberately obtuse. "You're 17 now, almost an adult. And Derek and I are getting serious. He's going to be moving in and we need the space." I still wasn't understanding. Need the space? Mom, we have 3 bedrooms. There's plenty of space. Derek has a home office setup that requires its own room. And we need our privacy. You're old enough to be on your own now. The realization hit me like ice water. Are you kicking me out?" "Don't be dramatic," she said, her voice taking on that irritated edge I knew so well. "I'm not kicking you out. I'm helping you become independent. It's time for you to stand on your own 2 feet. You have a part-time job at the coffee shop. You're resourceful. You'll figure it out." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Mom, I'm still in high school. I'm not even 18 yet. Where am I supposed to go?" "You can stay with friends, find a roommate situation, maybe rent a room somewhere. I've given you until the end of August to figure it out." "That's over a month. Plenty of time." I tried to reason with her. I reminded her that I was a minor, that I had 1 more year of school left, that my part-time job at the coffee shop barely paid $800 a month. She was unmoved. She kept saying things like, "You're mature for your age, and this will be good for your character," and I was on my own at 16. That last part was a lie, by the way. I'd heard stories from my aunt about how my mom had lived with her parents until she married my dad at 24. The next few weeks were a nightmare. I confided in my best friend at the time, whose parents were horrified and offered to let me stay with them temporarily. I also reached out to my Aunt Carol, my dad's sister, who lived about 2 hours away. She was furious with my mom and immediately offered me a place to stay, but she lived in a different school district, which would mean transferring schools for my senior year. I ended up splitting time between my friend's house and my aunt's place, trying to maintain some stability for my last year of high school. My mom told everyone in the family a completely different story, that I had chosen to move out because I wanted more independence, that she had offered to let me stay, but I was being rebellious and difficult. Some relatives believed her. Others had questions, but didn't push. I graduated high school while living primarily with Aunt Carol. I worked 2 jobs that summer, the coffee shop and weekends at a grocery store, and saved every penny. I got a full scholarship to a state university, thank God for good grades, and worked throughout college. I graduated with a degree in software engineering, landed a job at a tech company in Seattle, and slowly built a stable life for myself. During all of this, from age 17 to now, at 29, my mother and I had minimal contact. She never apologized. She never acknowledged what she'd done. On the rare occasions we spoke, she acted like everything was normal, like she hadn't abandoned her minor child for a boyfriend. Derek, by the way, lasted exactly 18 months before he left her for a woman he met at a conference. I've been in therapy for years, working through abandonment issues, trust problems, and the emotional aftermath of realizing your parent doesn't actually love you the way a parent should. It's been hard, but I've built a good life. I have a career I love, genuine friends, and I recently got engaged to the most wonderful man, let's call him James, 31M, who comes from a big, warm, loving family that's basically adopted me. Now, here's where the current situation begins. 3 weeks ago, I got a call from my mom. We hadn't spoken in almost 8 months. Our communication had dwindled to brief, obligatory holiday texts. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hi, honey." She sounded cheerful, which was immediately suspicious. Mom was never cheerful with me.
Hi, Mom.
What's going on? Can a mother just call to check on her daughter? You usually don't. There was a pause, then a sigh. I suppose I deserve that. Listen, I was hoping we could meet up for lunch sometime soon. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I'd really like to reconnect with you. Especially with you getting married soon. I saw the engagement announcement your Aunt Carol posted on Facebook. I was skeptical, but a small part of me, the part that still desperately wanted a mother's love, despite everything, hoped maybe she was genuine. Maybe she'd finally realized what she'd done. Maybe she wanted to apologize and rebuild our relationship before the wedding. Okay, I said cautiously. When were you thinking? We agreed to meet that Saturday at a restaurant halfway between Seattle and Portland. I told James about it, and he offered to come with me for support, but I decided to go alone. I wanted to hear what she had to say, without an audience. The lunch started awkwardly. Mom looked older, more lines around her eyes, gray streaks. She hadn't bothered to dye. We made stilted small talk about my job and her work. She'd been promoted to office manager at the medical practice. She asked about James, the wedding plans, where we were planning to live. Then, after we'd finished our meals and were waiting for the check, she finally got to the point. "So, the reason I wanted to talk to you," she began, folding her napkin with careful precision, "is that I've been going through some financial difficulties." My stomach dropped. I knew where this was going. "My rent has gone up significantly," she continued. "And with inflation, everything is so expensive now. I've been struggling to make ends meet." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said carefully. "Have you looked into different housing options? Maybe a roommate situation?" She waved her hand dismissively. "At my age? Living with strangers? No, that's not realistic. What I was thinking is that now that you're doing so well, I saw on your LinkedIn that you got promoted to senior engineer. You could help me out. Family helps family, right? Help out how?" I asked, though I already knew. "Well, I was thinking you could pay my rent for a while. Just until I get back on my feet. It's $1,800 a month, which I know is a lot for me, but it's probably nothing for you with your salary." I sat back, processing this. The audacity was staggering. "Let me make sure I understand. You want me to pay your rent?" "I prefer to think of it as you giving back to the mother who raised you," she said with a tight smile. "I sacrificed a lot for you over the years. This is your chance to show gratitude." Something inside me cracked. All those years of therapy, of working through abandonment and learning to set boundaries, it all coalesced in this moment. "No," I said simply. Her smile faltered. "No? What do you mean, no?" "I mean no, I'm not going to pay your rent. I'm not going to give you money."
"I don't owe you that."
Her face hardened into the cold expression I knew so well. "After everything I did for you? I raised you alone after your father died. I put a roof over your head, food on the table. Until I was 17, I interrupted. At which point you kicked me out so your boyfriend could have an office. You're still on about that? She scoffed. You're 29 years old. It's time to get over it. I was helping you become independent. I was a minor. You abandoned your minor child. That's not helping me become independent. That's parental abandonment. Don't be so dramatic. You were fine. You stayed with your friend and your aunt. You turned out successful. Clearly, it was good for you. The circular logic was dizzying. I'm successful despite what you did, not because of it. And I don't owe you anything. You made your choice when you chose Derek over your daughter. You live with those consequences. I stood up, put cash on the table for my half of the bill, and left. She called after me, but I didn't turn around. For a few days, I heard nothing. Then the text started. First from my mom. I can't believe you would abandon your mother in her time of need. After everything I've done for you. Then from relatives I barely knew, second cousins, family friends, people from mom's church. All saying variations of the same thing. I was selfish, ungrateful, cruel. How could I let my mother struggle when I had so much? Blood is thicker than water. Honor thy mother and father. Aunt Carol called me livid. Your mother is telling everyone you refuse to help her because you're still holding a grudge about something that happened when you were a teenager. She's making you out to be vindictive and spoiled. Of course she is, I said tiredly. That's what she does. I've been defending you, but some of the family is buying her story. Your cousin Michelle posted a whole thing on Facebook about entitled millennials who forget where they came from. I felt exhausted. Even now, my mother was controlling the narrative, painting herself as the victim. James suggested I just block everyone and move on, but something was bothering me. A memory from when I was packing up my things before leaving Mom's house at 17. I'd been cleaning out the garage. Mom had told me to take anything I wanted from storage, and I'd found a box of old documents and letters. At the time, I'd been too overwhelmed to look through it carefully, but I'd kept it, storing it in Aunt Carol's attic and eventually moving it to my own apartment, always meaning to sort through it but never finding the time. Last weekend, I finally opened that box. Inside were old bills, tax documents, photos from my childhood, and, crucially, a bundle of letters between my mom and Derek from the summer before she kicked me out. I started reading, and my hands began to shake. The letters were dated from May and June, 2 months before she told me I had to leave. And they told a very different story than the one my mom had been selling. In one letter, Derek wrote, I know you're worried about telling her, but honestly, Linda, the sooner the better. I don't want to be living somewhere with a teenage kid around. It'll cramp our style, if you know what I mean. Plus, you said yourself she's practically an adult. She'll be fine. My mom's response. You're right, of course. I just need to figure out the timing. Maybe after her birthday? I don't want to deal with her being dramatic about it. She's always been so needy. Another letter from Derek. Have you told her yet? I'm getting antsy, babe. I want to move in with you, but not with your daughter still there. It's either her or me. You need to make a choice. Mom's response. I'll tell her this week. Don't worry. I choose you. She's old enough to handle herself, and honestly, it'll be nice to have the house to ourselves. I've been a mother for 17 years. I deserve to focus on my own happiness now. There were more letters in this vein. Derek repeatedly pressuring my mom to get rid of me, and my mom not just agreeing, but actively resenting my presence. She called me exhausting and a burden and said she couldn't wait to have her life back. The worst letter was dated 3 days before she sat me down at the kitchen table. Derek wrote, I'm proud of you for putting your foot down. She'll throw a fit, but stand strong. This is about us and our future. She's been taking advantage of you for years. Time for her to grow up. My mom wrote back, I'm telling her Friday. I've already planned what I'll say, that it's for her own good, to teach her independence. That way she can't make me look like the bad guy. She'll be upset, but she'll get over it. And then we can finally start our life together. I sat on my living room floor, surrounded by these letters, and cried. Not because I was surprised. I'd always known on some level that my mom chose Derek over me. But seeing it in writing, seeing the premeditation and the manipulation, the way she planned to frame it as being for my own good, it shattered something I didn't even know was still intact. James found me there and held me while I sobbed. When I finally calmed down, he asked what I wanted to do with this information. I don't know, I admitted. Part of me wants to just keep it private, deal with it in therapy. But another part of me is so tired of her controlling the narrative and making me look like the villain. It's your choice, James said. But you have every right to defend yourself, especially if she's actively spreading lies about you. I thought about it for 2 days. Then I made a decision. The response was overwhelming. Within an hour, I had over 100 comments. Aunt Carol was one of the first. I knew it. I knew there was more to the story. Your mother has been lying for years. My cousin Michelle deleted her previous post and commented, I am so sorry. I had no idea. Mom told me you just wanted independence. This is horrifying. Other relatives chimed in, many expressing shock and anger at my mom. Some people I didn't even know well wrote long comments about how they'd always thought my mom's version of events didn't quite add up. But there were also some defending my mom. My mom's best friend commented, this is a private family matter that you're airing publicly to hurt your mother. Those letters are from years ago, people change. Your mother is struggling now and needs help now. This is cruel. My mom's church friend wrote, we're only seeing one side. Linda is a good Christian woman who did her best. Children should honor their parents, period. And then, about 3 hours after my post, my mom responded with her own post. I'm devastated that my daughter has chosen to publicly humiliate me by sharing private correspondence from a difficult time in my life. Yes, I made mistakes 12 years ago. I was in a toxic relationship with a man who manipulated me and influenced my decisions. I've regretted how I handled that situation every day since. I've tried to rebuild our relationship, but my daughter refuses to forgive me. Now, in my time of need, instead of showing compassion, she's chosen to weaponize old letters to make me look like a monster. I love my daughter and always have, even when she makes it very hard. I'm praying for her heart to soften. The comments on her post were mixed. Some people bought it completely. A mother's love is unconditional, even when children are cruel. Others were more skeptical. If you regretted it so much, why did you lie about what happened for 12 years? The family drama exploded. My phone was ringing constantly. Aunt Carol called to say half the family was at war over this. My uncle, Mom's brother, called to yell at me for destroying the family with my vindictiveness. My younger cousin called to thank me for finally telling the truth because she'd always felt something was off about Mom's story. The stress was overwhelming. I started having panic attacks. James suggested we turn off our phones and take a weekend away, which we did. When I checked my messages on Monday, I had 47 missed calls and over 200 text messages. The most unexpected message was from Derek. Yes, that Derek. The boyfriend from 12 years ago. His message said, I saw the Facebook post through mutual friends. I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I needed to reach out. Your mom is lying about me manipulating her. I was definitely an asshole for pressuring her about you moving out. I own that, and I'm sorry. But she was already talking about getting you out of the house before I ever brought it up. She told me she was tired of being a mom and wanted her freedom. I was a shitty dude who went along with it because it benefited me, but I wasn't the mastermind she's making me out to be. She's trying to rewrite history to make herself look better. I thought you should know. Again, I'm sorry for my part in all of it. I didn't know how to feel about this message. On one hand, Derek was still admitting to being a terrible person who encouraged my mom to abandon me. On the other hand, his message contradicted my mom's narrative that she was just a victim of his manipulation. I screenshot the message and sent it to Aunt Carol, but I didn't post it publicly. I was tired of the whole thing. Then yesterday, something shifted. My mom's landlord, a woman I'd never met, somehow found my Facebook profile and sent me a message. She introduced herself and said she'd seen the family drama online. Apparently my cousin knew her daughter and had told her about it. She wrote, I don't normally get involved in tenant drama, but I feel like you should know something. Your mother told me she was going to ask her wealthy daughter for rent money and that you'd definitely help because that's what good daughters do. When I mentioned that she could apply for rental assistance programs or look for a roommate, she said she shouldn't have to lower herself to those options when she had a daughter with plenty of money. She also mentioned that if you refused, she was planning to tell your whole family you were selfish and ungrateful until the social pressure forced you to give in. I don't think she expected you to have proof of what really happened when you were younger. Anyway, I thought you'd want to know her plan. Also, FYI, her rent isn't behind. She's current on payments. She just doesn't want to pay it herself anymore. I stared at that message for a long time. My mom wasn't actually struggling. She wasn't facing eviction or financial ruin. She just decided she didn't want to pay her own rent when she could manipulate me into paying it instead. And when I refused, she launched a character assassination campaign to pressure me into compliance. I forwarded the landlord's message to several family members, including the ones who had been most critical of me. I also posted a brief update to my original Facebook post. Update: I've learned that my mother is current on her rent and not facing any financial emergency. Her landlord confirmed that she simply decided to ask me to pay because she didn't want to pay it herself. When I refused, she told family members I was abandoning her in her time of need. This was a manipulation tactic from the beginning. The tide turned almost immediately. Even some of the people who had been defending my mom started backtracking. My uncle called to apologize for yelling at me. Cousin Michelle commented, "I feel so used. She made us all gang up on you over a lie." My mom's best friend quietly deleted all her supportive comments. And my mom? She posted one more time, "I can't believe my own daughter is turning my family against me. After everything I've been through, this is the thanks I get. But God sees the truth, and He knows my heart." Then she deactivated her Facebook account. I've spent the last 24 hours fielding calls from family members.
Some are apologizing.
Some are trying to play peacemaker, suggesting I forgive and move on. Some are still insisting that despite everything, she's still my mother and I should help her financially because that's what family does. But here's what I keep coming back to. Even if I set aside everything that happened when I was 17, even if I decided to be the bigger person and forgive her for abandoning me as a minor, she's still trying to manipulate me. She's still lying. She's still weaponizing family relationships to get what she wants. There's no remorse, no genuine apology, no acknowledgement of wrongdoing, just excuses, justification, and victim playing.